so much for the introduction. Um, my name is Esther, and yes, I'm the speaker for today. And basically, I'm here to actually talk about building a career path in biomedical engineering. And first off, I would actually love to appreciate the NSBCE team for putting this together. This is one thing I wish I had back during my undergrad to be able to guide me in this field of biomedical engineering. Um, and one thing about biomedical engineering is that there is just no one career path. And because of this, we are met with like myriads of career choices. And yeah, I believe people on this call, or I would love to believe that people on this call, they know bits and pieces of biomedical engineering. Some of them, some of us are already in the field. Some of us are students, some of us are trying to figure out, so what do I do next after studying this course and things like that. So um, I feel like there's almost nothing new about hearing the word biomedical engineering. It's just the various career paths. So I would be presenting based on my lens on how I view biomedical engineering, sharing tips of things that have worked for me so far. Like Oluchi has given a brief about me, and it's somewhat what makes me qualified as well to talk about this. All right, so let's dive right into it. Like Oluchi mentioned, I'll go through the presentation. Then, if we have any questions at the end, we could take down the questions in the question box. Then we could attend to it afterwards. All right. First off, I'll be talking about building. First of all, I'm talking about the educational preparation involved in building a career in biomedical engineering. Building is a continuous process, right? Now, to erect a house or a building, you need a foundation. Now, depending on what kind of building you want, if you want a skyscraper, if you want a bungalow, if you want a student hostel, the foundation would definitely be different from, it would be unique to each, what kind of building you want actually. So bringing that back home, career paths involving the legal route will be quite different from those people that want to go into the R&D sector. Will be quite different from people that want to do clinical engineering, quite different from people that want to go into the academia, quite different from people that want to go into tissue engineering, right? Or quality specialists like my role as well. So laying a good foundation for whatever career path you want starts from your educational preparation. So we'll be talking about that. Then as well, we'll be talking about actually choosing a career path in biomedical engineering, things to consider or what comes to play while choosing a career path in biomedical engineering that seems so vague. Basically, I think while I was that was at my undergrad after my graduation, and I was sitting there and I was like, yes, Esther, what next? Esther, what do you want to do next? Biomedical engineering has different legs and prongs, and having to determine that would talk about the factors that come to play. Then also we'll be talking about things that I would have done differently based on the stage I am at. Like I said, you keep building and building. This is not where I want to be, especially in biomedical engineering. And from like today, you could be in this space, another day, you could be in this space, but all within the biomedical engineering space. So things I would have done differently based on my experiences so far. All right. Now, diving right into the educational preparation for building a career in biomedical engineering, the first thing I would say is that your grades matter. Let nobody come and tell you school na scam because that's usually the trend going on, right? That um people that got A's or people that had 5.0 in school, some of them are not doing so well. Well, first off, your grades matter. Career building actually starts from bottom, and that's the same way you build a house. Now, while I understand that getting all the A's in school does not translate in building a solid career, but actually results determine the choices that you have. Your grades determine your choices. So For example, an HR puts up a posting and says, oh, they're accepting people that graduated with a 2-1 or a first class. Give or take, you are within that pool. It's not a situation where you're not trying to start filtering the vacancies and saying, oh, how about those people that got 2-2? Is there any HR that is actually looking for that? So with getting a good grade, you know that you have more opportunities available to you. So now start building your career from the university, pass all your courses. And one thing again, do not have a favorite lecturer. And we can say, oh, this course, it's not my strength. It's not my area of strength. Let me just leave that aside. No, you can't leave that aside. Pass all your courses. Now, for example, in general terms of business, there's something they call visibility. Now, in layman's term, that would mean putting your face in front of your customer. So you'd see people doing influencer marketing or having to hire Instablog Niger to actually promote their products for them. Now, what they're trying to do is to make room for further opportunity for, it looks like my screen is being marked. Okay. So visibility actually makes room for opportunities, right? And now bringing this home as a student, basically, paying attention and asking questions puts you at the top of your lecturer's mind. A lecturer could actually be taking about 5 different classes, probably in a day, and each class has probably like over 100 students. Well, it wouldn't remember every single person or every single student in his class. That's not possible. And one thing that I know that has worked for me is that I ask questions in class and not just random questions that would make him believe that you didn't read his study notes, intelligent questions. Then as a result, you are at top of mind saying, oh, this particular student is actually paying attention and asking the right questions, right? Now, if there is a conference and it has to bring about 5 students along, you're likely to be one of those that gets picked and gets selected. Excuse me. You're likely to be amongst those that get selected to actually attend the conference. So I remember back in undergrad, some people, my professor needed to like carry some students along to, I think it was there's this clinical engineering hospital where they improvise for their medical devices. So for example, instead of you having a syringe and an IV fluid, they make use of bottles, and then the drip is inside the bottle, then they have like their cannulations. Having to understand how to actually sterilize, not just relying on technology or modern technology. They make use of locally made materials. So it was a situation of, oh, these are my best students, have them go for this, right? So it's easier for a professor to recommend you when they know you are at the top of your mind, right? So do all within your means to actually pass your courses. Going to the next point would be know thyself. Initially, I wanted to put play to your strength, but I realized that there's this saying where we have that man know thyself, and we are all unique beings and unique personalities, right? Some students assimilate to better while in class. For example, I try as much as possible not to miss classes because I know that that's how I get to understand whatever materials is given, right? While some students, they just only need to study the material. While some people, they are hands-on, go for the practicals, do everything in your means to actually like be there, right? To be able to assimilate the materials. Some people would say, oh, I read better in the early hours of the morning. Some people late hours of the night. Some people will literally say, oh, it's a quiet environment. For example, me. Some people say, oh, it's a loud setting. I have a friend that should literally put on blaring what works for you. Um, Yeah. Also, you might say, oh, you came to school only for studies. And I understand some people might actually have other activities that are drawing them. For example, fellowship for those that are Christians or Muslims also for if you need to worship as well. Also other activities, social activities, you belong to a particular association and you want to get things moving and having to balance. If some things are not working out based on your time schedule, cut them off because so reason why you're in school is to get those grades so that you'll be able to build a solid career for yourself. So now, for example, I was part of the fellowship. I was the general secretary of BUSA. That was the student association as at then. Basically, people would tell me, so how do you balance it all? Well, after I'm done with all of the day's activity, I come back in the evening, take my books. Or sometimes, well, but before I would like would see. In the mornings, I would actually catch up on the study materials for the day. So I just look at my timetable, things that I have slotted for that day, the studies, the subjects I have, then read up on it, catch up on it, and probably do the assignments that are related to it. So in short, I'm just saying play to your strengths, know thyself. Finally, on the aspect of practical experiences, of educational preparation would be to seek practical experiences, right? One way to actually strengthen your good results is not just having a good result. You also have to have the practical knowledge to back it up. So you have to go for internships, try to volunteer. And one thing is that do not first of all look at the money. My first 3 months at that was at Sacred Heart Hospital. That was so we had 6 months IOS and 3 months internship. So for the first 3 months, it was a case of um, what am I doing at this hospital? Basically, sometimes I would just sit down at the office and wait for my boss to come, right? But as time went on, I was able to contribute. Like it was a case of, oh, I was seeing them do it on a daily basis. They allowed me be to see, okay, this is what is done in the hospital because you can't just go hands on into medical devices, especially in a time conscious environment like the hospital where anything can go wrong at any time and there is protocol for everything, so you can't just enter the theater and say, oh, the oxygen in the oxygen concentrator is out and things like that. No, there how I know how to do it and how can I help as well, because I also understand that some schools or most schools in Nigeria are not actually equipped with the right materials for practical experiences. Very few schools in Nigeria teach biomedical engineering. We have almost all universities teaching mechanical engineering or biz admin or this, but for biomedical engineering, with how broad the space is, there's not enough resources for that. So seek practical experiences. Um, Next, we'll be going to like a few career paths that I posted on the screen. We have things of like tissue engineering, bioinformatics, if you're good in programming, regulatory affairs, if you want to go into the academia and teach people actually how to do biomedical engineering or whatever space they choose, telemedicine, everything, almost now, everything right now. So you could basically be in Nigeria and be watching an operation being done somewhere in the US, or you could get your doctor on the line with you and is walking you through different things that happen, like that go on in your body. So that's aspect of telemedicine. You also have precision medicine, which is not on here. We have biomaterials, having to study what kind of materials actually go into the body. So sometimes we have implants that, like orthopedic implants, that patients have to use to get better, right? Or to aid in their day-to-day life, right? Your biomaterials come to play where you have to study, or is it stainless steel, or do we have adverse reactions to all of these things? So there are just a whole lot involved in biomedical engineering, and it's not an exhaustive character. It's not an exhaustive career. And the state of biomedical engineering is quite fluid. Like I said, one moment it could be a clinical engineer. The next moment, you could be involved in medical device design. All of these skill sets, the major thing is the skill set that come to play, right? But at the center of all of these things is actually understanding the laws guiding these fields. Um, if you want to do entrepreneurship, I think by the time I was leaving school, one of the ideas that came to me was that I should do import and export of biomedical devices, right? But there are also regulations, there are country laws, there are state laws, there are world laws that you actually have to obey. So being able to understand the laws guiding each of these fields. For example, clinical trials, you can't just organize clinical trials for what they call it now, your idea or the innovation that you want to do. No, there are laws guiding it. You cannot just say, oh, patient, so I'm just going to like pull blood out of your body and try to do this permutation on it. No, there are laws guiding this. I was speaking to a friend that is in the clinical trial space, I think sometimes last year, and she was saying how you have to be in clinical trials, you have to narrow down the kind of patients you want in order to achieve the objective you want. And sometimes some patients would almost lie to you that, oh, it looks like this particular drug you're giving me is working, right? I'm getting better. But in reality, they might have given a placebo. So also with clinical trials, you would not allow your patients to know when a placebo is being given. So all of these laws, you have to be able to understand the guiding phenomenon behind whatever. Now, let me bust your bubble when it comes to choosing a career. Your first career out of the university may not be what you want. I think let's just settle it there and then. Passion without money, or what you will starve. So sometimes you might think, oh, money or passion. They've been telling me biomedical engineer will give me all of the money and all of the good bucks. It will, but the very first career out of university would not be what you want. I back in my in my during my master's program, when we're wrapping up our project, one of my professors came and she was literally standing in front of us in class and saying, well, guys, you might think, oh, I have an MSc in the bag now, but I'll tell you a bit about my story where right now, the very first career I got out of school was being a waiter at a coffee shop. She did for 8 months before somebody casually walking into the coffee shop and he's like, well, I've been seeing you every time for the past 8 months. So what do you do? What's your background in? And she was like, oh, she has a master's in biomedical engineering. And he's like, oh, really? And you've been at the coffee shop being a waitress? She's like, yes, that's that's basically it. And from there, she landed an interview, and from there, she got a job. Right. So your very first career out of university may not be what you want. Like I said, it's a building block. Now, certifications that you want to do, you want to further your studies and everything, is money that you need money to actually be able to do this thing. So for now, get the very first thing you get, the very first job you get, take a hold of it until you use that one. My father will say, you use whatever you have to leverage whatever you want, basically. So if this is what you have right now, use it to leverage what you want. Gather all the skill sets. If it's communication skills, speaking with people, having to find out how to program and things like that. Gather all of the skills you have right now or what you have at your disposal for the next step you want to go to. So basically, money should not be the main consideration, but keep your passion at art. Let it still be at the back of your mind. Some of you want to go into music, some of you want to go into different space, right? But first off, gather the money. I know that the educational part I was talking where you have to just do what it's basically everything all boils down to like discipline, right? So know a bit of everything, right? Now, on that note, I would also talk about mentorship. So now you've gotten this, probably your first job out of school, and you're actually not sure what's next to do. Like the question I was asking myself when I graduated from my undergraduate degree. And I kept on asking myself, so Esther, what do you want to do? This field is vast. I had to ask one of my professors back in school. That's I don't know if we have Bell students on this call. That's Dr. Mrs. Daramola. And I was like, Ma, I want to, I'm not sure what's next to do after school. I want to apply for to further my studies, but I'm not sure if I want to do a doctoral degree. I don't know if I want to do if I want to be a doctor, or if I just want to do a master's, or if I just want to gather the skill set and just start my business in biomedical engineering and just build a firm there, right? And she's like, so how about you take the first step of during your NYC, go for your NYC, then during the phase of your NYC, apply to different schools that you want to at least decide if it's a master's degree you want to go for. First start from there. Even if you do not want to do a doctoral degree, start from there. So mentorship is very important. People that you see that are already in the spaces you want to be, reach out to them on LinkedIn and basically foster that connection with them and ask them about their opinions, ask them about their day-to-day life. So, okay, you are like, oh, okay, you're not sure if you want to go into bioinformatics. Ask them, so what does it take or what skill sets is necessary for you to actually go into bioinformatics? Do I have to be an A programmer? Do I have to take Java? Do I have to do go more into electrical engineering? What skill sets do I need to gather? Who do I need to talk to? What kind of associations do I need to join to be able to get to the next step I want to be? So leverage mentorship is very important. And then finally, certifications and association. You could be the best biomedical technician ever, but some companies would not give you the contract. Some people are looking for, oh, does the certification you have back up the skills you say you have? So some people would have gone to take all the Udemy courses and not actually get a certification out of it, because I know that's very possible, where you just go through the course and that's it. Get your certifications. Right now, I can say boldly, oh, I have a certification in Lean Six Sigma. That's what companies are looking for. I could have just gone, oh, okay, Lean Six Sigma is just about this. I have a knowledge about it. But no, leveraging my certification places me. If I see any job opening that says, oh, they need Lean Six Sigma, I have it. It's not just the knowledge, but I have the certifications to back it. Also join associations like NSCBE, this particular platform here right now. Join associations, leverage them. Um, for those in the US, you could join the BMS Association, the NSB. Just chase after that dream, chase after what you want in the biomedical engineering space. You see that somebody that, like, if, for example, you go to a LinkedIn profile and you go all the way down, and you see, oh, associations that they find out more about that association they are a part of and see, oh, does it actually does it meet my career needs right now? Then if it does, please go for it and join the association. So that's basically my bit on how to choose a career path in biomedical engineering. Next we'll be moving into things I would have done differently as a biomedical engineer, or at this phase of my life where I'm at, basically. I do not know everything in biomedical engineering. There are spaces and fields to be explored, and it's just one step after the other, right? So the first thing I think I would have done differently would have been sought a mentor sooner. I can't overemphasize mentorship. It would be like, oh, I'm talking about mentoring, mentoring, mentoring. You would not make the same, if you have a mentor, you would not make the same mistakes they made. Somebody that is already at the position you want to be, and you're asking them, so what mistakes do you think you would have avoided? Those pitfalls, you would ordinarily not walk into them anymore. You're basically climbing on their shoulders, right? Now, I did my one of my internships here in the US at one of the Fortune 500 biopharmaceutical company. And up until now, I was able to lay hold of a mentor. Initially, during my internship experience, it was like, oh, okay, let's just be meeting for the purpose of the internship, because that was the mentor that I was attached to. That's through the program, the internship program. But as time went on, I realized that there could be more that could come out from this. It's not just, oh, I just want to use you for internship period. No, it's both ways. The same way when you are friends with someone, both ways, it's basically information sharing. The information you share, the time you spend together fosters that friendship. So that's what you do when it comes to mentorship. I was able to speak with her. She was also able to share what she wished she had not done while she was building her career up onto the stage she's at. So I would not make the same mistakes she had made. And I'm still able to keep her in the loop that, okay, this is what is happening right now in this phase of my life. How do I navigate this? So having to leverage mentors sooner, I'm not making the same mistakes anymore. And she's directing me, like, for example, during the time when I wanted to do when I was looking for a job, that's post my master's degree. And she was like, do this, do not do this. It was easy for me to leverage the knowledge she gave me, basically. So, one thing I would have done sooner, it looks like my screen has been pulled. I literally looks like I can't share my screen. Is it possible for you to do that on your end?
It wasn't showing it. Okay, okay, let me tell. It wasn't showing what you were saying as per the time. So I guess that's why he shared this. But I'm going to tell him to pull it off so you can share yours.
Okay, let's see. Okay, now I can share my screen. Um, share. Sub on now. Hi, Luchi, can you hear me?
It's better now. Yeah, yeah, it's
Okay.
better now. It's showing
Okay.
where you are now.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, now something else I think I would have done differently. This is based on my strengths, right? That I've been learning how to program. The world is fast evolving. Technologies what we imagine to be technology is no longer what it is anymore. Basically, we have neurogenerative AI, we have different things happening right now, and there are different concepts to precision medicine. Basically, also tuning medicine to patients, aligning it based on patients. So recently, I heard about a sickle cell invention or not be like a cure to sickle cell, and it's in the tissue engineering line where you just have to take probably one of the what do you call it now? All of these XY genes on DNA, just remove one of them and replace it with a new is it a new gene? But I hope you get the idea. And it's all from the concept of tissue engineering, learning how to program the cells, basically. So something I know I would have done differently would have been learning how to program. But I think, like I said, play to your strengths, know yourself. At this stage of my life, what do I need to do to get it done? I wish I had done this during my undergrad, learned how to program effectively, because I think I would have been making really good bucks right now. So yeah, learn how to program. That's something I would have done differently. Now the third thing would be networking strategically. And I can't overemphasize it the same way I would not overemphasize mentorship, right? So with learning how to actually network strategically, some people would say, oh, I'm at an event and they'll just gather business cards. No, that's not how to network strategically at any event. For example, like I said, join an association. So the association you join, they have a conference coming up soon, and you're in the midst of it, right? It's not necessarily about sizing people up or necessarily collecting all the business cards. What if they do not remember you at the end of the day? And I think we've also had cases of ghosting people, basically, which I have also done back in undergrad. I remember a TEDx event. I went there, looking to network in quotes, and at the end of the day, me shooting them email that, oh, we met at this event, and I probably did not receive responses, or probably I received responses and just took time, but I was just not at the top of their mind. So, how do you network strategically? Whatever conference you're going for, know something about it. Let there be a topic of discussion. And it's basically also based on your expertise, right? Now, get to know people at this event and have more in-depth talk. The level of discussion you have with them keeps you at top of mind. So if you bring a very interesting topic while talking with somebody, they would say, it looks like this person really knows what the person is talking about, right? And they're able to connect with you later on. Sometimes they would even be the one to say, so how about we get to connect on LinkedIn? Or how about we share contacts? Or probably once you're visiting my school, the next time you're around, give me a call. Let's hang out. Let's do a coffee chat or something around that. Based on this, I'd actually love to talk about my experience last year. Last year, I believe October, where this networking strategically actually helped me in almost landing a role, basically. And um, I went to the conference. It was not a case of, oh, I needed to size up, oh, it looks like this person is a managing director in this particular field. No. Get to know people and share your wealth of knowledge, share your wealth of experience. Sometimes it could even be somebody that could be in the you never can tell where the person also would move on in future or what kind of project this person is actually working on. So back to the story I was saying, or telling, and um they just had a casual dinner. That was after the event. And my friend and I went for the dinner. It was just basically black engineers coming together and just having fun at the conference. And someone was just casually saying, "Oh, so what do you do?" It was so background story is that the conference was mainly for people in the academia space, so people that had PhDs. So I already felt out of place there. So someone came up to me and was like, "So what do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I'm currently a student and I've done this internship here." I was leveraging my experience from my internship. That was the one in the US, the one in Nigeria, and saying, I know how to do this, taking a device all the way from clinical development phase all the way down to commercialization, understand the regulatory things involved. And she's like, oh, you are in the industry, very much interested. I said, yes, I'm very much interested in the industry. So, oh, let me introduce you to somebody. And from there, she introduced me to somebody else that was in the industry. And I was like, oh, hi, this is what I do. And she's like, oh, I'm actually in the regulatory space. I'm in the midst of doctors, and I basically also do not know what I'm doing. But yes, we're just trying to network, right? So based on that, we just started talking about regulations in biomedical engineering, regulations with medical devices. With the FDA, they just give you a standard, and whatever company you are at or with develops their QMS system to that, develops regulatory filings to that. And also with the medical device industry, you have like class one device, class two device, class three device. So I already had so much knowledge about what, even if I did not have the hands-on experience, I had so much knowledge, and she was able to relate. And she's like, yes, this is what I do on a daily basis as well. Being able to craft out regulatory pathways for medical devices. It was a very, very interesting topic. I was not looking to just get a business card. No, I really wanted to learn and also share my knowledge as well. First, from there, she was like, "Oh, she has a side talk tomorrow at the next day, sorry, at the event." And she's like, "Well, you could come in, just hear what I have to say." I'm like, "Yes, I would actually love to hear what you have to present on." And from there, I went there, and it was a very interesting one. And from there, we just shared contacts. And the next thing was that she was like, "Oh, she just resumed this new role as probably an associate director as one of the big medical device company. And down the line, I think she's looking to recruit for a team." I'm like, "Well, fine, just let me know whenever, or we could definitely keep in touch." And 2 months, 3 months afterwards, I reached out and I was like, oh, hi. Though we've been talking back and forth way before the time when I asked her for, oh, it looks like you said something about a role happening at your place. And she's like, yes, there is an opening for a regulatory specialist. How about you apply? Then I would forward your resume to the hiring manager. The hiring manager is a good friend, and she managed her back in way earlier in her career. And I landed the interview. It was a very beautiful one. It was a case of just talking about experiences as well. All right. But the reason why, so eventually I came out probably like number two, right? And I was asking the hiring manager, she was like, well, it's because there is already somebody inside the company that the person that took the role or got the offer was someone that was already working in-house as a contract worker. So, but I was still able to leverage my experience or my network basically in getting this particular role. And I'm at top of mind to the hiring manager and to every other person that was on the panel. So networking strategically does not mean sizing people or try as much as possible not to do that, but build intentional conversations. Talk intentionally with whoever you're trying to network with, right? Um, yeah, I think I'm overflogging this issue, but yes, network strategically. I believe this is the end. Um, you are welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn just by scanning the QR code. Yeah, I would leave the room open for any questions at this point.
Okay, thank you so much for the webinar. I believe it was insightful for me. My take home was networking and mentorship. So I think everyone should look forward to that. And in NSBC, as a society, we offer mentorship programs. We have people skilled already in the field, already doing things that those are actually confused as to what they actually want to do in biomedical engineering, they can leverage on. So it's now time for questions and answers. If you have any question, please indicate by raising your hand so we can start. Please, if you have questions, kindly signify by raising your hands.
I think there is a question in the chat. I want to get a practice license. I graduated from biomedical engineering. What kind of license are you talking about? Okay, I think that's Abdurrahman. Is he or she still on the line? Oh no. There is someone raising up, like signifying. What's the question?
Okay, yeah, you can ask your question.
Okay, thank you for the presentation, Esther. My question is this: what advice would you have for someone who wants to pursue a career path specifically in quality? I think that is what you're doing.
Yes.
If you could speak more to that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. Quality specialist role. Like a brief of myself. I'm into quality special. Oh, I'm a quality specialist at Arch Medical Solutions, and what I do on a day-to-day basis is manage deviations. With the FDA and the regulations that we have here in the US, you have to be able to monitor if things go wrong and at what point they go wrong. If not, they could pull off your device from the market. So it even stems from the things from all the way from when you design your device and going to manufacturing and as well commercializing your device. Now I'm in the manufacturing space and we're a subcontract company where we manufacture the devices or the designs of these big companies. For example, you come with a TBL template and you just give us the design. We do the manufacturing, but there are also rules that guide the manufacturing. You can't just manufacture. There is a step-by-step procedure for that. Now, there are some times where you've made the product and it is out of specification. For example, a dimension that is supposed to be 1.25 millimeter and you produce it to probably 1.5 millimeter. This is just a difference of 0.25, but it could make all the difference in the world when it is being implanted in the patient, right? Now, we handle things like that, such that the customer comes back to us and says, this is out of specification. Where did it go wrong? And how do you prevent it from happening? So we are the guys that actually make proactive steps to say, these are the steps and these are the things that could likely happen during the course of manufacturing this particular device. How do we mitigate this risk? Now that it has even happened, how do we prevent it from occurring? So now that's something we know in layman's terms as corrective and preventive actions. Preventive actions is basically being proactive, thinking of all the risk way ahead of time so that it doesn't happen. Now, corrective actions is, now it has happened, how do we prevent it from reoccurring? So that's basically what a quality specialist does. Now, it differs from company to company. What you really need is the skill set to actually be able to replicate it in different company. You could be a consultant and still be a quality specialist. You could go into auditing of firms and still be a quality specialist, right? So what the background you're actually bringing is quality. What does quality mean to you? What does quality mean in the entire space of, even if it's a biopharmaceutical firm, if it's in a pharmaceutical firm alone, if it's in the medical device industry? So what factors or what skill sets do you need to gain? For one, communication skill. My boss would tell me quality is 80% communication and 20% negotiation. How do you negotiate with your customers? Even in negotiation, it is also communication. For one, build your communication skills. Also, there is also something known as GD&T. That's dimensioning and tolerancing. Learn about these things. How do you interpret images and diagrams? I never knew that something I learned back in secondary school would apply today. Back in secondary school, I took a course, technical drawing. I basically was the only girl taking technical drawing as a day. And I remember I was in SS3 and I sat for the WAEC exam. I passed it. And now I'm faced with diagrams uh, of um of devices, and I'm to be able to interpret it to what the operators on the manufacturing floor would actually design, right? So no skill is wasted, no cost is wasted. So like I said, gather and own all of your, do not say you have a favorite subject. Everything would matter in the end, basically. So being able to also learn about tolerancing and dimensioning is very, very important. Then also good documentation practice. That's something we try to combat in our field because documentation makes for traceability. So now, for example, something that happened probably 10 years back, I can still trace it because it was documented. So probably I'm looking at for, has this event actually happened before? Have we had a case where this particular device was pulled off the market? You can only know that if it was documented. So getting to also learn about good documentation practices would help. For example, you can't just, if you need to make a correction on something, you can't just cancel and believe it's done. You have to cancel, date, and sign it. So even little things like that would make you excel in the quality specialist field and also in any other field you find yourself in biomedical engineering as a whole. I hope I was able to answer your question because it's a broad um question, and I'm looking to also, yeah, and it's just based on my experience and some things that I would say that would have actually helped in doing that.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Please, are there other questions? If you have a question, please kindly raise up your hands up.
I think they're asking about NSBCE in the chat box. Concerning earning membership to, yes, I checked the requirements, which said that if you have first class or distinction, the registration fee has been waived for you. How can I get ahead to register for the membership?
Okay, so
Doctor,
I can answer that. Okay.
okay.
On that, you can send a message to the secretariat at nsbce.org.ng. You can send a message there and they will respond to your query. Thank you.
All right. Ibrahim, I hope that answers that. I think Dr. Chidi is putting his hands up.
Okay, sir, you can go on. You can ask your question.
Okay, can we hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. So thank you so much, Esther, for the presentation. The talk was quite insightful. You brought up a lot of things, especially from way back in when for those that are actually in school that are still going to, and a couple of my students have that. And I think you mentioned Mrs. Deborah Daramola. I think she was my colleague during my master's program. Yes, it's my
Wow.
so I quickly dropped her a message. I said they mentioned your name on the Zoom call. So I was I'm asking this on behalf of a couple of my students
All
because
right.
I deal with them from time to time, and I usually will encourage them to apply for internships even before the curriculum demands that they do internships, which is very helpful for them because and I think last 2 weeks one of my students told me he took my advice and he got an internship in the UK.
Okay.
And because I tell them, I say it gives them more insight and they have more sense of direction when they do that before the time for the because most of them struggle to get where to do internship when the school demands it of them. So I encourage them to do that. So I'm asking this on behalf of students that will probably have because a couple of them will meet me even this week to ask me about what since the summer is just around the corner. And a
Okay.
couple of them have done that by themselves and have gotten it. I have a couple of my students from 2018. That one went into Canada or the US. Then when he finished, he got back in and he did his master's and then he was able to scale that through. So I want to be able to give them a more something much more concrete when I'm giving them.
Okay.
Sometimes it's difficult for them to do the search, it's difficult for them to find a place. So I tell them, I say, look, this thing about you have to keep applying, just applying. So my question now will be in the area of quality specialist, as a quality specialist, given the fact that in your company they do those kind of things, so the students will go and get a lot more. So when they come back, they have like more questions, like directed at the course itself because when a student doesn't know what to do a research on or what's at the possibilities because the field of biomedical engineering is vast, so you actually be confused at some point in time if you want to actually pick on because this one will interest you, then the other one interests you, then you find yourself all over the place. So for the students interested in that particular area, how will you advise them to apply for internships in the US?
Okay, thank you so much. It's nice to know that. Well, I've not lied on the call. So, a quick question. Are your students based in Nigeria or abroad?
Yeah, they're based in North Cyprus. Yeah,
Outside of
they are not in Nigeria.
Okay, so I
Yeah,
think I would be answering this in two phases based on my experience in Nigeria and my experience here in the US. Back in Nigeria, I would say you could do an internship at a laboratory that's fixing their equipment. They have centrifuges, they all still need to do blood works, and they have all of those big machines. Also, there is this particular firm that does importation of MRIs, and that's the magnetic resonance imaging machines, and probably dialysis machines and all of that. Look out for places like that as well. Um, Hospitals are the basics first, right? So you don't necessarily have to go to the big names or the government hospitals close to you. You literally could do the ones very in your neighborhood, right? So I remember also that one of my professors at that day, that's Dr. Ajishafe, he linked me up with a particular hospital that needed my expertise in it. That's because he already knew I had the knowledge. So internships are very much important. Gather the experience. Now, like I said, laboratories, firms, hospitals will definitely help in Nigeria. For people abroad, I would say any pharmaceutical firm, start early. There is a timeline for internships, the same way you have a timeline for admission into school, such that if you want to get into university by September next year, you should have started applying right now, basically in May. You should have started looking out for schools that if by September next year, at least 1 year out, start applying. So one thing that I know that has worked for me, how I was able to land an internship within the time frame of getting an internship and also landing a job almost immediately after school would be start way early. So now immediately I got into the US, I started my internship application process. It was not a case of, well, I still have all the time in the world. No, you're an international student. You're coming here and you need to you need to get your game straight. Most employers will not they will not employ you after school, outside after school, if you do not have the US experience. Some of them will be like, so how does it translate to working here in the US? So apply as soon as you get into the country and as soon as you start your program, and make use of your career development office resources. So most schools here in the US actually have alumni bodies and they're in collaboration with the career development office. As soon as you get there, let them know you. Your resume, your Nigerian resume would not work for you here in the US. So even have to craft that resume to suit the US lingo, to suit the keywords they are looking for. What kind of your career development office in that? Also reach out to people that are already like alumni of the school. So sometimes when people reach out to me on LinkedIn, there should be probably the reason why I would accept it would probably be when there is a mutual connection, or more reasons why I would accept a connection would be when there is a mutual connection. So if I know that you are from NSBCE, there is already a mutual connection. So for alumni, there is already a mutual connection of you being part of the same university or having gone through the same university. Reach out to them and be like, oh, I'm a student of this particular university. I saw that you graduated this year and you are in this you passed through this particular department and all of that. So how has been experience been for you way after school? So leverage all of the resources you can gather. You're paying for these things, leverage it. In fact, the big money you're paying for it, don't let any dime, like spend every dime basically. So gather all of the resources that you have available to you and also start early. It's a number of gains. Start early. As soon as you start putting in your applications very early, you increase your chances of actually landing a role when you need to land a role. So that's what I would say. If there is anything outside of this, I feel like it would be more specific to probably companies, then also referrals work. So you could tell an alumni to give you a referral to the company they are actually working at, because back end they get bonuses for some people for a particular role if they land. So you could also ask for referrals as well. So I hope I was able to answer your question within yeah, if you need clarification on any other thing as regards that, and for your students as well.
Okay, I think you did. You did. I think this is a point to be able to talk about. I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we still have questions? Please, if you have any other question, please signify.
I think Emmanuel is raising his hand.
Okay. You can ask your question.
Thank you very much, Madam Esther, for your presentation. Just wanted to add to what you just said with respect to asked by the last speaker, choosing it, getting the place for internship and the rest. And I will discuss about, I would like to talk about the Nigerian system, the Euro system, and of course, the North American system, because I pretty have some experience with it to me. Now, within the Nigerian system, I will always recommend that whoever that is looking for an internship, go to big hospitals. That is the Nigerian system. Reason being that the smaller hospitals, they don't even have equipment. You just go or probably some feedback from students doing internship in some of these smaller hospitals. They go there morning till evening. I mean, some of them, they start doing the job of nurses, like some of the feedback we got. So I recommend for Nigeria system, which is solely zoned or probably narrowed down to technician job of medical equipment maintenance, please look for a place for like big hospitals or big clinics in Nigeria. Then with respect to Europe, now when you talk about during internship, a lot of factors have to come in place. But the truth is this, there are certain things you don't have. You can't get the internship. That is just the reality. No company is going to take you because you don't have those requirements. Now, if you are searching for internship spots in Europe or in probably North America, okay, something I know is most of the internship spots you get within biomedical engineering, they are going to be R&D. They're going to be med tech companies, not the technician job of repairing, because nobody's going to keep you in the laboratory doing nothing. So for instance, you know how to use some softwares, maybe some 3D modeling and whatever. They just keep you there, they give you a little, this is what you should be doing now. Simple. But if you don't have those things, it's almost impossible for you to get it. So first, the students applying should first evaluate to evaluate themselves to know actually if they have some of the basic requirements for internship in most of the companies, outside companies. Then for Europe system, is much easier to get internship because, of course, probably through the European Erasmus program, which I did also, and was able to get an internship in Netherlands. Through that European internship, whatever, but they will sponsor you about 3,000 euros, very bad. You can apply for internship, and it's pretty much easier process. However, for North America, it's a little bit different. Most times, they don't want to communicate with students directly because you have to involve your university, your co-op, whatever, you have to involve them, your university. But in Europe, you don't need to involve them. You can just deal with them directly. So all these factors, whoever that is applying for internship, you will have to put all these things in place. Because if you are using the method of you dealing with the companies directly in North America, most cases it doesn't work. Because they want to ensure that your school is involved. But for Europe, they don't care. Your school, they just only deal with you. They don't care much about your school. So these are things that I think students should also be aware of whenever they are looking for internship, and of course, pay attention to these things so that at least their search will be much easier. So it's just my contribution to.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for speaking as
thank
regards.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. Then I think one other thing I wanted to add would be also professors or lecturers also ready to provide recommendation letters for their students. This works as well. So some companies would actually ask, oh, apart from your resume, who can vouch for you? So they would say, present a list of your references. So professors should be able to vouch for their students and also be willing to provide recommendation letters when it comes to applying for jobs as well and aiding them in this. So yeah.
Okay, I think I have a question. So in
Right.
terms of your role as a quality specialist, how lucrative is that as compared with other areas in biomedical engineering? How lucrative is quality specialist?
Well, I think I was expecting that question. So there is so much more. Now it depends on location as well as your experience. So if you have 5 years experience, you definitely know that you're earning the good bucks. Also, if you have like programming experience, but how lucrative is it compared to other roles in biomedical engineering? This is just it's a tip of the iceberg, basically. So for people that are actually doing tissue and stem cells engineering, you definitely can say they will be any way more than what I earn right now. People that actually design these things, they use the AutoCAD system, they're able to conceptualize designs. They'll definitely earn way more because they are the ones bringing the ideas. People that are in telemedicine space and having to reprogram AI such that they work towards a particular kind of solving a particular kind of ailment, they'll definitely earn way more. But now, quality specialist also depends on the kind of company. What you earn will depend on the kind of company it is you're working with. So if you are working for the big firms, example, we have GE Healthcare almost every I think in almost every country. I'm not sure about that, but I know that they're present in Nigeria, Germany, they're in the US as well. For big firms like that, you can be sure that you'll be earning way more than a small manufacturing firm or a small biopharmaceutical or medical biotech space, right? So quality specialist, what you'd earn as a quality specialist will definitely differ based on a whole lot of factors. But every every arm of biomedical engineering is important to a patient. The end result is being able to ensure that the patient is safe and the patient gets the necessary treatment as well. So but yeah, I hope I was able to answer that without also revealing my pay grade.
Yes, you did. You did.
Okay. All right.
So, do we have any other question before we call it a day? Any other question? Okay, so briefly, this webinar was brought to us by Nigerian Society for Biomedical and Clinical Engineering. So if you'd like to be a member, just like she has said, networking is important, and the joining a society cannot be overemphasized. So to join or to become a member of NSBCE, you can visit our website at www.nsbce.org or send a message on the screen to this WhatsApp number on the screen if you have any questions on your category of membership. So yes. So if we don't have any other thing, there are no other contributions or any other questions. So I would like to thank Ms. Esther for just inciting and revealing, and it was packed, filled with enough education and insight as to how to go about in finding a career in biomedical engineering. So I'd like to say a big thank you to you for your time and for coming to give us this great webinar. And to everyone that joined, I want to also say thank you to you for joining. Thank you for your time. And thank you. And please, if you are not a member, kindly register and join and be part of what we are doing, because we're actually at the building stage of this society. We need all biomedical engineers to come on board and help build this great society. So, and that's it for us here. Thank you for joining and have a good night. Rest.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.